Do you like dogs? I hope you do. Today I'm going to teach you how you can build this dog training center application using NextJS and Tailwind CSS. Okay, this is the app that you're going to be building today. Okay, small animation, several sections, a slideshow, and a contact form that actually works even on localhost. I will teach you how to make it work. Fully responsive, of course, and here is how it looks on mobile. And let me open the navigation for you. You can scroll down. You will get all of these sections one more time, of course. Plenty of negative space, and that's pretty much it. Okay, let's set up the project by running this command. TypeScript no, ESLint yes, Tailwind of course, the source won't be necessary, the app router yes, and I do not want to customize any defaults. So this is going to install all the basic packages that we need, and as we progress we'll be installing more packages that are going to be necessary for the specific custom components that we will also build. Installation done. Let's cd into the project. Press enter. I am now inside this project. Let's type code dot, press enter, and it opens the project inside Visual Studio Code for me. Let's continue. I went ahead and added a couple of images inside the public folder. So the dog icon that we are going to use in our logotype, and also the dog that is going to be our background image for our hero component. I also replaced the existing favicon with this favicon that you see here. I have also created the components folder inside the app folder. If you open it, you will find all of the custom components that we are going to need throughout this project build. But each component only contains the initial code. So if you want to have access to this initial code and the images, all you have to do is to check this video's description where you will find my GitHub repo. So let's move on. Okay, I am inside my GitHub profile page. I'm gonna go to my own repositories and I'm gonna open the dog school. You can clone this or you can simply download the zip folder, and that's what I'm gonna be doing. I'm gonna download the zip folder. Here it is. I'm gonna double click it. This can go away, and I'm gonna open this inside Visual Studio Code. I had prepared this for you, but I now decided that I do not want to start by importing the navbar inside our root page, inside our home page. I want to start with the hero component. So let me change this really quickly. Also important to mention is that I have extended the theme colors. So I added this custom blue color that we'll be using throughout the project. So you will find this inside the Tailwind config file. Okay. Time to run npm I to install everything. And after this is done, we can start our development server. So now you can type npm run dev and press enter. We can open the project inside localhost, and this is what we have. We see the favicon added, and the first component that we see is the hero component because it's the one that we added inside the home page. So now let's really start building up this project by building the hero component first. Okay, let's start by adding an ID to this div, and this ID will be used for our navigation. Okay, discover, it's going to be the ID. Inside, let's have another div, and this div can be styled right away. And I want to give a width of 80%, so a custom width of 80%. MX auto, flex call. I also want to justify things to the center and items to the center also. And I want to give a padding 5 to all sides. Inside, I am going to have two things, an h1 and a p tag. Okay, so let's start with the h1, and this h1 will also have a span inside, but let's start by styling this h1 text 5XL. On MD the text will be 6XL, bit bigger of course. The font is going to be bold always. The font is going to be bold, there you go. Margin Y of 5. And I'm going to use the text wrap class, there you go. And I want to say unleash your, and now I'm going to use a span tag. And inside the span tag, I will have dog's potential. Just going to copy paste this to be faster. Okay. And I'm going to style this class name. I'm gonna style this. The span I want to give a different color, so text slate 300. And what else? I'm gonna need also a p tag below this h1. So this one, I'm gonna need a p tag. And I'm just copy paste the text inside, so it's faster and I do not mess up. I'm gonna style it, class name, text, it's going to be 1.2 M, okay, that's the font size. On MD, the text is going to be 3XL, and then I want to give a margin top of 3 and a margin bottom of 10, okay. I'm going to format the document, and as you can tell we have this section, but, and I can see already a problem, it's fixed now. I just rearranged this, so there's no need to give margin left to this spam or anything. Okay, so, and now this is the result. We start to see something, but we do not have the background image with the gradient and all of that like we see here. Okay, and this can be accomplished with Tailwind CSS. Okay, but to be faster, I use it the way that I know, and that means I added all of this inside a custom class inside the globals.css. Okay, you can definitely use these properties and swap them into Tailwind CSS utility classes. But because this was faster, I decided to go with this. So all I have to do now is to add the hero class to my div. So if I add now class name, and if I add hero and go to our project and refresh, I should see the result. And there you go. See, the same thing. Of course, we are missing the navbar, but apart from that, it's the same thing. Okay, time for us to develop the navbar. As you can tell, I have imported the component and I placed the component here, so we can now develop it. Okay, but for developing this component, we actually need to install at least 2 more packages. So yeah, we need to install React icons, so npm react icons, and we also need a package called react scroll. Okay, so let's press enter, wait until this finishes and continue. We are going to need to use React hooks, which means we need to change this component into a client component, okay? And I can go ahead and actually copy paste all of the imports that I know that we need for this particular component. So pay attention that this link is coming from the React scroll package that we were installing, and it's already installed, okay? And we can actually check that inside our package.json. And as you can see, these are the packages that we installed. Good. But what I want to point out is we are using two links, the typical NextJS link component, but this package also imports a link, but I'm using as a scroll link so they don't conflict. And so you can tell visually what link is doing what, okay? That out of the way, let's work inside of the logic that we need for this component. As you can tell, we will use useState and useEffect inside this component. So the useState will allow us to create our initial state, in this case for the menu icon, okay? So in the final version, of course, when we click, we open the mobile navbar and we display this icon. When we close, we hide the navbar and display this icon. So this is what we are doing with this. So initially, the menu icon is set to false because the navbar is not open, okay? But we also want to use this useState for our sticky navbar. So if the user scrolls down, scrolls vertically, okay? So scroll Y vertically, up to a certain point, 50 in this case, we change the background color. So this is what we are doing. So we are using this state and this state, setting both to false initially, and when something changes, we will change it to true, and that will trigger a different behavior in our UI. I have now updated this. Instead of a div, I'm using a header, and I'm using our custom color that we have defined inside the Tailwind config file. Okay, this custom blue, it's coming from here. Okay, and I'm adding some other Tailwind CSS classes with full. The height is a custom 60%. I'm using easy duration 300, and of course I want my navbar to be always fixed at the top. So I'm passing this, and I'm giving a z index of 10. So it's the highest z index in our component and in our project also. I'm adding also a margin bottom, but now inside the nav tag, and these tags are just semantic HTML5 tags, inside this nav tag, I'm gonna use my sticky, okay, this variable, and I need to see if it's true or false. Of course, initially it's false, but when it changes to true, and that will happen when the user scrolls down up to this position, we set the sticky to true. And when the user scrolls up again, we set it back to false. Okay, so we need to render different CSS in case it's either true or false. So that's what we need to do right now. Pay attention to this syntax. So if sticky is true, I want to add whatever classes that I'm about to type in here. If sticky is false, I want to add these classes. So if it's true, do this, else do that. Now I want to further develop what's inside my navbar. And the first thing that I want to do is to add my icon here. So I also need to use this scroll link because this is going to be responsible for navigating in between the sections, because this is one single page. So if you click, it takes you to that specific section. because we only have one page. It's always the home page, but we can navigate between sections, okay? So the first thing that I want to do here is actually to grab my scrolling to wrap everything, okay? So I can navigate the user when the user clicks here, okay? So inside this, I can also, and I need to pass the attribute scroll to where, in this case, to discover, okay? And this is the top section of our application, okay? And on click, I want to run this function, because when the user clicks in here, I will open or close the navbar and display the icon. So on click, and we will test this when this is done. Maybe it's easier, okay? Just trust the process. So now inside, I'm gonna wrap everything inside the div, okay? This is going to be the parent div, and I'm gonna use this mainly to use flexbox. So I'm gonna use flex, and I want my items to be in the center. So they are all aligned vertically, okay? Now I'm gonna make usage of the image component, and notice that all of this is already imported at the top, okay? And to be faster, I'm actually gonna copy paste this so I do not mess up, and it's definitely faster. So all I'm doing is adding the icon. As you can see, it's visible now, and that's it. Below, I want to add a span, because in front of this, I want to add training center, okay? So I'm gonna add a span and style it, okay? So right after this image, I can copy paste, and boom, there you have it. See, it's getting there. I now added the larger screens navigation, and this is true only for larger screens. As you can see, this ordinated list starts as hidden and becomes visible only on MD breakpoint onwards. So this is not visible because it's hidden, of course, but if I enlarge, there's a breakpoint right here, and this is where this larger screens navigation becomes visible. And of course, I'm styling all of this. So this means if we are on a large screen, we can now see this, but we need to also display the icon for the small screen navigation and make it work. And notice the following: the scroll link, okay, that we are importing from this package also takes these properties, okay? You can play with these numbers, and you can and must explore all of this on your own. So let's continue. I now added the icons for the smaller screens, and as you can see, the icon is here, which means this icon is always visible up to MD breakpoint when it gets hidden. So basically, when you display this icon, you do not display the larger screen navigation and the other way around. But up to this moment, all we are doing is to use this onClick function that is going to basically swap the icon for us when we click. So when it's not clicked, we get the usual open menu icon, the hamburger icon, whatever you want to call it. But if you click, it renders the close icon. But this is not done because we need to render this icon, but we also need to open our mobile view navigation. So let's work on that. I went ahead and added this div for the smaller screens navigation. And this basically checks if menu icon is true or false. It is set to false at the beginning because that's what we are doing here, okay? And when this icon gets clicked, we run the function and we basically change from open to close, from open to close, from close to open. So from this to cross and from cross to this. And all I'm doing is just checking if menu icon is true. And if it's true, I add these classes to my UI. If not, I add these classes to my UI. And if you can check here, these are the classes that are actually responsible to hide the mobile view, the small screen view navigation. And that's really easy to spot because I'm actually using negative values basically, okay? But so let's see how this is coming along. So if I'm on a larger screen, I get this navigation, of course. And then if I shrink it a bit, I keep having it. Of course, the font size is smaller now, but when I reach a breakpoint which is lower than MD, I get this icon instead. And if I click, now not only I display this X icon, but the content of the small screen navigation. And if I click back, I'm gonna close it. And that's it. So now we just need to work on the content that goes inside this navigation, which is this div right here. And there you go. I added a bit of code, and this is now basically working in terms of UI. So if you click now, you will see the content. So this div here at the top is actually rendering the logo. This is super simple, so I'm not gonna spend much time covering this. And then you have your navigation links, okay? These links right here. And when any of these links are clicked, we run our handle smaller screens navigation, okay? Which is this function that we have right here. We swap the icons, we take the user to whatever section that was clicked, and we close the navigation automatically. Now, if I click here, okay, I am closing because that's what it's doing, but I'm not getting taken to any of these sections, of course, because these sections do not exist yet, okay? And I cannot really also do the other part, which is when I scroll down, I see the background color changing here because I do not have other section. So we now are going to work on the hero section, and once that section is done, we can come back and fully finish this navbar section and test everything to make sure that everything works like in our demo project. Well, as a second thought, I decided to add these services here so we can fully test our navigation. So now if we scroll down, because we have another section, okay, we can see that the background color is changing because we are scrolling vertically like expected, right? And this is of course true on any other device size, okay? But the other thing is we can also test the navigation. So if I open this, and because I went ahead and added this ID, and remember I mentioned that we are using IDs in order to navigate to the sections that we want to navigate to, and I just added this class name temporarily so we can have like a big section. Let me close this, sorry. So we can have this big section so we can scroll and actually see this happening. So I'm gonna get rid of this, but before, let's just click services because we have that ID connected already, and I click, boom, I am taken to services. And remember that our hero also got an ID, which was discover, I believe. So if I click discover, boom, I'm taken back to here. So when you open the navigation, you see the icon, and when you click the correspondent link, and you can check the bottom left, okay, you are taken to that section, and this will close automatically. So I am gonna click here one more time, and there you go. Hopefully this is clear, hopefully this is not confusing, but now we fully developed and tested this, and before we go back to these services, we need to work on the section title here. Now it's time for us to work on the section title component. As you can see, we have several titles on our page. So we have this one, we have this one, we have this one, and so on. So they are very similar in terms of UI. Of course, the text inside changes. That means we need to build a component, but instead of calling the component multiple times like we could, but that's not the best idea. We are going to build a component that we can reuse. And that means we are going to build a component that accepts props. So I'm gonna destructure my props, and I'm gonna have my subtitle, okay, and my main title, okay. So my main title is going to be this bigger title, and my subtitle is going to be the blue title, okay. Now I can work inside this div. I can style it right away, and I want to say margin Y, so top and bottom, a custom amount of 150 pixels. It's up to you, you can change this amount, but I want to give a nice white area, so a lot of negative space. For me, this looks better. It's up to you. And I want to always put my text right at the center. There you go, okay? Because this is always centered, okay? So inside, I can have a p tag, and this p tag I can style it right away, and I'm gonna use my custom blue color for the text, so custom underscore blue, okay? We saw this already. Text 1XL. Font, I want to use the normal font for this one, okay? And uppercase, and a margin bottom of 2. And this is going to be my subtitle. So I'm gonna copy paste this, okay? And I'm gonna put it right here. So this component accepts props. So when I'm gonna call the component, I will have to pass the props, okay? Next, I'm gonna have an h2 tag that I can style right away as well. And I'm gonna have a text 3XL. Of course, I want the text to stand out a bit more, so the text gets bigger, and the text color is going to be black, okay? And the font, I want it to be extra bold this time, okay? And one more time, I'm gonna copy this, okay, and pass it right here, okay? So now that I created my component, I can go ahead inside my home page and call and import this component and use it. So page, there you go. I'm gonna import the component, which is SectionTitle. There you have it. And I'm gonna use it. Okay. And this component, as you can see, takes two props, subtitle and main title. Okay, so now we just need to pass the props. So the first one is going to be believers dogs can learn. So the subtitle, it's going to be this, and then this is just the prop, of course, because I'm gonna copy paste the text. So believers, it's going to be my subtitle, and dogs can learn. So actually I do not, because I'm using uppercase, I can just say believe as, and I'm gonna use dogs can learn. Let's see what this does. If I refresh, there you go. See, dogs can learn. Uppercase, dogs can learn, because in here I'm not using that text transform, so I need to do it manually. Okay, coming along. Okay, this is it. Cool, let's continue. Before moving on and building the services section, there's two things that I want to do really quickly. I want to update this, and as you can tell, in our final version we do not have the browser's scroll bar, but we still can scroll up and down, of course. So I want to get rid of this scroll bar, and I want to update this. So the first thing that I need to do is to go to my layout file, and in here I want to change this title to what was the name? Dog Training Center. So Dog Training Center with a capital C, come on. And yeah, there you go. And I want to get rid of this scroll bar. So for that, I can go to my globals, and this is the way that I know how to do it. And this is, I guess, the last time that we are going to be working inside our globals file. Yeah, I don't have anything else, and all I'm gonna do is to copy paste some code that will remove that browser's scroll bar. You can check this on your own. Okay, and now see, we can still scroll and we do not have that annoying scroll bar. All good. So let's continue, and now really is time for us to build this section, which is our services section. Okay, let's create the basic structure for our services. Okay, so this div actually we are going to be using a grid, and we'll start with grid calls 1, so smaller screens. On MD changes to grid calls 2, and on LG I want to change to grid calls 3. Okay, simple. I also want to give it a gap of 5 and a padding of 8 to all sides. The ID is services for navigation, as we did before, and inside we are basically gonna have three cards. Okay, so we could have used, I could have used props one more time to make this component a bit smaller and all of that, but I decided to go with the hard way per se. So it's up to you. You can definitely refactor this code to use props. It's not that hard, but we want to render this kind of dog card per se inside the grid. So once we do the first one, we can just copy paste the other one. And if you were using props, that would be even easier. Okay, but I didn't do that way, so let's move on and do the way that I did. So I'm gonna have 3 divs. Each div will have a class of relative. Okay, and I'm just building the basic structure here. Okay, and I'm gonna format the document. Boom. So each div will have, of course, inside an individual dog card per se. And as you can tell, of course, I went ahead and added the imports necessary. Okay, I'm adding 3 images. Okay, I'm not making these images available to you, but you can use your own images. It's up to you. So this is just an example. Okay, so the first thing that I want to do inside is actually to add an image. Okay, and that's the first thing. Boom, there you go, copy paste. This is simple. I'm using the image component. There's no need to spend much time on this. Then I'm gonna have 2 more divs. Okay, so that's the syntax. 2 more divs, 1 div and another div. Okay, and then the second div is where I will have, because when we hover, see, when you hover, you get this animation with this information, with a call to action button that is actually not linking anywhere, but you could make it link to wherever you want. So this is just an example. So let's just style this outer div. Okay, class name, and this is going to be absolute. Okay, absolute. Make sure you type the class name correctly, otherwise it will not work, of course. Top 0, left 0, and bottom 0, of course, bottom 0, right is going to be 0, flex call, justify center, items to the center, so everything is nicely aligned. The text color is going to be white. Okay, cursor pointer, so the user knows that can hover on top and do something. Padding of 8 to all sides. I want the opacity to be 0. On hover, I want the opacity to be 80, and you can explore these classes in case you are not familiar with them. And also on hover, I want, of course, the BG color to be my custom underscore blue that you are familiar with by now. I want to use transition all, and I want to use a delay, so this animation it's not too fast, of 300. And I'm actually gonna use view or drop so you see all the classes that I typed. Okay, inside, and this is what we are building, so forget this obedience, behavior and therapy, because we are not building that. We are building what we will see when we hover, so this basic obedience, this blue background and this button. Okay, so what I want to do firstly is to add icon here, but you do not see it yet because we are on a small screen. So larger screens you add the icon, smaller screens, because the text is quite big already, you do not have the icon, so you don't see it here unless you are on a larger screen, but I'm gonna add that icon right away. And for that I'm gonna copy paste, so let me see, so if I do not mess up, yeah, this is the one, and I'm adding this icon from React Icons. Okay, we did that. Then I'm gonna add the p text. Okay, the p text, which is the basic obedience training text that we see here when we hover. Of course, each one will have different text. And then I will have a link that is going to wrap the button to take the user to wherever you want to send the user to. In this case, I'm not linking to any internal or external page, therefore I'm just sending the user to the root. But you can change this href prop, of course. So if I refresh, let me see, there you go. So I see the image, and when I hover on top of the image I see everything, but I do not see the icon because I'm on a smaller screen. But if I enlarge, I do see the icon. So now I just need to add that title here when not hovering, this title like obedience, to the top left corner. Okay, and that is going to be done inside this div. So this is super simple. And I'm actually, now I'm gonna just do class name. I need to use absolute positioning because this is always going to stay there. Top, in this case, of 2, left of 0, so this is the top, this gap here, there's no gap on the left, that's what I'm doing. The background color, one more time, I'm gonna use my custom underscore blue color. The text is going to be white, nice color contrast. I want the width to be 40% for this rectangle, 40%, but on MD, because I will have two cards side by side, I will have less room, therefore I'm gonna decrease my width to be only 35%, if this makes sense. I want to give a padding 3 to all sides, uppercase the text, a font of bold, so it stands out a bit more. The text is going to be aligned to the left, therefore text start. On MD, I want to swap and align the text to the center, and I want to give a rounded right LG, so this tiny bit on the right. So let's see if that worked or not. And I do not have any text in there, so we only see the UI, but I can write the word obedience, obedience it was, and I can actually go here and format my document. And as you can see, it has worked. So we always see this label, and when we hover, we see the animation kicking in and out when we hover in and out. And on a larger screen, we see the icon. So this is all good. Of course, we need 3 cards and they are all different. So what I'm gonna do is, because I already showed you how to build one, and once you know how to build one, you can build these two, because all you have to do is to change the content, the text. But I'm not gonna bother you with checking me doing that, so I'm gonna copy paste and we will move on. There you have it, the 3 cards, and when you hover, you see the title and the call to action button. On larger screens it's the same, and on LG you see also the dog icon. Yes, I was using the MD breakpoint, but then I decided to change this and use LG instead, because the text was quite big, so I want to make sure that you see the text and not the icon, so it will not mess up that. Coming along nicely, time to add another title at the bottom of this section. So let's do that. Here is the new title. I added it here. So now the next section is the DogTrainer. So let's import, what was the component name? Let me just double check. It was just DogTrainer, correct. So we can go here and import DogTrainer. There you go, into our home page, and we can use it right here. And yep, there's some space there, unnecessary. There you go. And we'll see the DogTrainer any moment rendered here. So we can navigate to our DogTrainer. Don't need this import, and there you go. So let's work on this. I'm inside my custom component, and as you can see, I am importing an image and the image component from NextJS, because of course I'm gonna need it. Okay, so let's start by styling this outer div. I want to give padding of 8 to all sides, flex call, and on MD I want to change this to flex row, and I want to give the ID of trainer so we can navigate to this section, and we can test this also, and we should this one and the other sections to make sure that it's all working. Once inside, we'll have 2 main divs, one for the text, the other one for the image. Okay, that's simple. Boom. So the first one, I'm gonna style it right away. I'm gonna style it class name, and the first one is the one on the left, which is going to be the text. So the width, it's going to be full. On MD, I want to change the width to be only 60%, okay, of the screen size available. MX Auto to center things when the screen gets really big. I want to use Flexbox, Flex Call, because I want to stack things on top of each other. I want to use item center to vertically align things properly, and I want to use the text font size of 1.2 EM. Okay, so let's leave it like this for the moment. I'm gonna give the basic styling for the other div where the image will live inside. So the width, it's going to be full. On MD, the width, it's going to be also a custom amount, and this time, you guessed it, 40%, because you add 60 to 40 and you get 100%, of course. And then on MD, I want to give a margin left of 5, and this is only on MD breakpoint onwards. I want to use Flexbox, justify things to the center, there you go, and items to the center. I think I can now format my document, and I can start working on the image. Okay, this div right here. So I'm gonna just copy paste this because it's just the image, and I'm gonna paste this. I'm gonna go view, word wrap. There you go. Hopefully we'll see something. My computer is really slow. There you go. We have the image. Okay. On smaller screen, the image is at the bottom, text on the top. We don't see it yet because we don't have it. On bigger screens, we get the image on the right hand side. It's just an image that I'm importing. I'm giving the width. I'm giving a few classes, rounded full to give this circular shape. I'm giving a margin top, and I'm giving these border colors. Okay, you can see all I am doing, so no problem or whatever. Inside this div we'll have plenty of text, so there's no point for me to type any of this out. I'm gonna just copy paste all of this, and I'm gonna format my document. It's this simple. Okay, and there you go, you have it. So if I enlarge the screen, we start to see things. So let's try to see if the navigation works. DogTrainer, boom. Services, boom. Hero section, boom. So services, DogTrainer, Hero section. Yeah, this is definitely working. So let's try this on a smaller screen. There you go. So go to DogTrainer. We were there. So Hero section. There you go. DogTrainer. There you go. And services. So we now know for sure that everything is working up to this point. And we built almost everything. We need the footer. We need the... we also need the slideshow for the testimonials that we have here, but we do not have yet the component created. But I think we did like 60% of the project already. So let's continue. Time to work on the testimonials section right here. As you can see, I went ahead and added the title. Okay, there we have it. And below that, we'll have this slideshow. And this is done with React Slick. We have not yet installed that, so let me first confirm that we don't have it, because I think we don't. Yeah, we have scroll, but we do not have. So we can crush this one and clear npm I React Slick. This is the package name. I'm gonna install this, and then we will develop our testimonials component. So npm run dev, there you go. And I have already added it in here, so we are good to go. So we can definitely work on this. So because we are going to use this slideshow that is automatic, or you can manually scroll it left or right, it's up to you. We need to change this component from a server-side component into a client-side component. Therefore, we're going to use the use client directive at the top. We are also going to have two imports. Okay, one is the image and the other one is the package itself. And we also need to import the CSS files for this to work. I'm not going to go over the documentation for this, but if you want to read more about this on your own, just look for npm React Slick and you will find the documentation. Then, as you can see, we have a lot of dummy testimonials composed with image, the person that is giving the testimonial title, and the testimonial message. So we do not want to manually write all of this or anything. So what we want to create is an array of data, and this array will contain several objects, and each object will have this information for each of these people. So I'm gonna copy paste this dummy data, okay, because we're gonna need it. We're gonna need to map through all of this data. So I'm gonna do word wrap, and as you can see, this is all the information that we are going to use inside our testimonials. We have nothing yet because we haven't built the UI, of course. So now we can start doing that. So the first thing is, I also can and must define a few settings for the slideshow. And this is all coming from the documentation, so there's no point for me to spend much time on this. Of course, you can play with these numbers to see what this does, okay? So these are the properties that we are going to have in our slideshow. We'll be using dots. As you can see, by using the infinitive boolean of true, so the boolean true for this infinitive property, the slideshow keeps moving automatically. Then you can set the speed, how fast, how many slides do you see, okay? How many you wanna scroll when you scroll, so I'm defining 1, always 1. Autoplay true, okay? And autoplay speed. So you can play with this and explore that. So let's right away now build the UI. So I'm gonna start by styling this outer div with, it's going to be full for smaller screens, like you see now. I want it to be full, but on bigger screens I want my max width to be different. And that's a mistake already, a typo. On MD, I want this to take only 80%, and on LG, I want my max width to take only 60%. So the bigger the screen, the smaller this component will be horizontally, if that makes sense. MX Auto to center things in the center when the screen gets too big. And I want to give a custom, and this is important, a custom height for all of these cards, this card, okay? Because otherwise, depending on the content that you have here, the card will grow bigger or smaller, and that doesn't look nice. So make sure to play with this number and adapt it to your own needs, but you need to define a custom height, in my opinion. The background color, it's going to be slate 100, so this light gray. And of course, I want to give the ID of testimonials, you guessed it right, because I want to be able to navigate to this section. So I can refresh and maybe I can click testimonials. It's still thinking my computer is damn slow, but it will work. So let's go back to the code, and in here we are going to firstly import this slider component. So we are going to wrap everything inside this slider component. So slider, okay, it opens and closes, and I want to pass and spread my settings into this component. So whatever I have defined in here will be applied to this component. So that's what we are doing. Then inside we need to map through all of this data, loop through all of this, okay? And that's what I'm going to be doing now. So my array name is data, because this is the typical convention, because most of the times you're pulling this data from a database. And I see an error, and import, okay, yep, silly me, we are getting this error because I am trying to import something that I have not installed. So we installed this package, but we did not install this slick carousel package. So npm I, boom, install, and this should fix my problem. So let's continue. So now npm run dev, and now if I refresh, this must work. Let's see if that's true or not. Back to business, let's use map to get access to our data. So data dot map, okay, and what I will be getting is going to be a testimonial, okay, and then I can simply return right away a div like this, and this div will need a key. I guess that's the error, yep, and this key is actually going to be the testimonial dot image, because each user will have a unique image, okay? If you had an ID, you could use that instead. So I'm gonna style it, class name bg slate 200. I'm not really sure. I better give an height of 450 pixels like I did here, so they match in height. I think this is necessary. Well, we can remove that class and see what it does, but I think it's necessary. Text black, the width it's going to be full, and a padding of 8. What else do I need? I want to further style this. So a margin bottom of, where am I? A margin bottom, maybe a margin bottom of 2. I'm gonna use flexbox, justify things to the center as usual, and items to the center also. Okay, inside this div, pay attention where you're typing all of this. Inside of this div, we'll have 2 main divs. Okay, so let's add right away the markup. 1 div, 2 divs, 2 main divs. The first one, I'm gonna style it right away. And the first one will contain the user image, but I'm gonna just style it. So flex, justify center, items center, and I want to give a height of 28. Okay, and as I said, inside I'm gonna have an image, and I'm gonna just copy paste. So I am accessing my testimonial and then whatever image, and that's it. I'm giving these classes, nothing really impressive as usual. Okay, the lower div, it's where we'll render the name, the title, and the content of the testimonial. Okay, so I don't need any styling here. All I need is a p tag. Yep, a p tag, where I will be rendering my testimonial name, which is the person who made this testimonial. I'm gonna style it. I'm gonna give a font of normal, text 1 XL, margin bottom of 6, so I give a little separation, and then I'm gonna have an h3 tag, which is going to be my testimonial title. I'm gonna style it right away, class name, margin bottom of 2, font this time needs to be bold so it stands out a bit better. On MD, I also want to give a margin top of 10. And inside, I'm gonna access my testimonial and my testimonial title. There you have it. And below that, I'm gonna have another P. And why am I getting this error? Okay, I'm missing this. Yeah. There you have it. No. Now it should fix. So this P, the class name, not there, come on. This P, I'm gonna style it, class name, and this is going to be on MD a margin top of 10. There you go. And inside, now in the correct place, I'm gonna access my testimonial and my testimonial message. It was, I believe, message. Let me see. Testimonial message. So now we can actually try to scroll to this section, and there you go. But I'm having a problem with the image somehow. So the image is not good for some reason. So where is it? My computer is going nuts as usual. So I definitely made a mistake somewhere. It's not image, name image. So why am I not image, testimonial image? So let me just crash clear npm run dev. Let's see where I'm going wrong. Should be something obvious, because I cannot see where the mistake is. It normally means something really obvious. Refresh the page. Of course it was something obvious. Guess what? I added a path to these images that I'm trying to use here, but I never added the images in the first place. That's why I'm getting this 404 not found for these images. So all I have to do is to basically drag my images, and this should now work. Let me see if that is correct or not. So how many testimonials do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4. So that means I am one image short, and this should fix my problem. And I now believe that if I refresh, this should all work. And I start to see stuff. Cool. So this means it is working. Boom. It's recompiled, and we do see 1, 2, 3. Well, we don't see this guy for some reason. 4. My computer is super slow. You probably can hear is noise in the background. We now have 4 images, all good. So this is part 2 of 2, where I will teach you how you can design this contact form, and better than that, I will teach you how you can use Email.js in your NextJS project, which is going to allow you to send emails even on localhost. And after that, to wrap up this project, we will just build this simple footer, and this project will be finished. As usual, I went ahead and added the section title inside our home page, and we can see it already. And I have also imported and used our custom contact component. So now it's time to develop and make this contact form work with the help of Email.js. Let's use npm to install Email.js package. I'm gonna press enter and wait until this finishes. After that, of course, I'm gonna have to import Email.js in order to use it, and this actually also means that we need to use client directive at the top. Okay, I have added the imports that we are going to need. Okay, and let's start by building up the logic that is necessary for us to actually send the email, and this is way simpler than you might expect. Okay, so I'm gonna basically type this out and explain you a bit. We'll have to use this React hook, and that's why we are using this. And at the end of the day, we will run this function on form submit. Of course, the function is empty now, but we are going to build this up together. As you might expect, the first thing that we want to do when we run this function is to actually prevent the default behavior. And if you do not understand this, all you have to do is to Google this out, and it's going to be way easier. And then I want to send a feedback message to the user, okay, to say if the message was sent successfully or not. And I'm going to use a bit of DOM to do this. So I'm going to define a so this is the feedback message. So user message. Okay, I'm going to define a let variable, and I'm going to call it user feedback. Okay, and I want to go and grab an ID that I do not have yet because we have not yet built the UI part, but I'm gonna do this bit right away anyway. So I'm gonna grab that element by ID. All we want to do is basically access email.js that we have imported right here at the top, okay? And now we have this method available, okay? And in here, we need to pass some stuff that is going to be unique for you, okay? So you will have to pass the service ID, the template ID, and also form.current, okay? And we'll need something else. So I'm leaving this strings empty because you will have to get your own service ID, template ID, and so on, and I will show you how to, but I will use my own strings and you need to get yours, okay? And then then we want to do something. So we'll have some sort of result from this, of course. And what do you want to do with it? You don't have to, but I want to console.log something. Wait, I spotted 2 typos already. There's 1 and there's 2. We can now continue. So I basically want to console log the result text, okay? And I want to send a message to the console, in this case the browser's console, because we are using use client, which turns this component into a client component, of course. So what I want to do at the end of the day is to console log. I want to access result and the text, okay? And I want to concatenate, if that's the word, a message, which is going to be something like a message sent. And this is just for myself. This is just for the developer. This is just for yourself, okay? Because you're using console log. So, but you also need and should give visual feedback to the user. Okay, you can use React Toast, I guess, or Notice Stack, stuff like that, but I'm just using the vanilla JavaScript in this case. So I'm gonna access my user feedback variable, okay, boom, and I want to use inner text, and this is plain JavaScript, okay, and what I want to do here is to type your message, and this is the message that the user will see. Your message was sent to us. Oh my god, I cannot type today. Thank you. Okay, this is what the user sees. Okay, and after this I want to actually clear the form. So after the message gets sent, I want to clear the form, so the inputs get empty. Okay, so for that I'm gonna access again my event, and I'm using the short E, okay, for the event, the usual convention, I guess. I'm gonna access target, and I'm gonna use the reset method, okay, which is going to cause the form to be cleared after submitting the message. And this is when things go right, okay? But if things go wrong, okay, if there's an error of some sort, you want to do something with it, right? And that's what you normally do. You want to handle your errors. And in that case, you want to use a console log again, okay? Because you always want to send feedback to the browser's console. And in this time, you're gonna access the error, okay? And text. And you can, again, concatenate. I think I said it right this time. And this time the message can be, I don't know, message not sent. I think this is clear enough, okay? And one more time, you want to grab this variable and use the inner text to also display feedback to your user, okay? So you want to say something like, sorry, something went wrong, and maybe you can add, we could not send your message. I think this is clear enough, okay? So this is, believe me or not, this is pretty much it. So of course you now need to add the strings here to make it work, otherwise you will see this, and I made another mistake. What's wrong with me today? I'm just tired. Okay, so now really it's time for us to move on and build the UI and test this. So let's go. So now pay attention to this because we'll have plenty of things nested. I'm styling the outer div using flexbox. So flex call to start with on MD. I'm gonna use flex row to put things side by side. Justify center items to the center, and I want to have a gap of 8. Okay, now inside I need to have two main divs. Okay, let's prepare them. Okay, there you have it, two main divs. I'm gonna style the first one, and it's going to be width of full. On MD I want to change the width to, oops, there's a typo already. On MD, I want to change the width to 30% only, and I want to give a padding X of 6. Okay, the second one is going to be similar but not the same. I'm just gonna copy paste to be faster. In this case, 70%, and the padding is going to be Y and 2 instead of 6. So let's continue. Inside the first main div, I pasted this content, this text that you can see on the screen already. So now let's work on the second div. As you can see, I nested plenty of divs and added plenty of classes. So here inside this div, this is where the magic will happen. We'll display our user feedback message inside the div using DOM. So we started doing it right here. And below it will actually work in our form. So let's do it. In fact, this form doesn't take any action, but we need a class name for styling, of course. So flex wrap, another typo, be aware of the typos, and we need to use our ref, okay, and our ref is going to be our form, okay, so form, let's use our ref and pass our form, And on submit, okay, on submit, we want to run our custom function, which is the send email function. So there you have it. And of course, we need to add the inputs so the user can actually type something inside the form. Inside the form, we'll have 4 different sections, 1, 2, 3, 4. So let's work inside them individually. Here is the first div. This is super simple. I'm not gonna spend much time on this, but there's 2 tiny details that I want you to pay attention to. Because we are using React.js under the hood, of course, you cannot simply use the for attribute. You need to use the HTML4 attribute. And this name is really important. So whatever you put inside this string needs to be a match to email.js. Just keep this in your mind and we'll come back to this later. Here is div number 2 and it's pretty much the same. So I'm gonna just copy paste and show you the other 2. But yeah, the important thing is this bit right here. Let's move on. Time for div number 3, which is this one, the message. Okay, one more time, keep this in mind, and let's go to div number 4. Finally, div number 4, it's just a button. Now we can see the full form on the screen, and what is important to mention is you need to add this attribute, the type submit, because on submit we need to make this function run, our custom function that is responsible for actually sending the form data, I mean. Let's just check the UI for this component. Oh, sorry, this is not the one. Well, this is the one and I see a problem. So what I want to do actually is to change this. So let me see, yeah, this height, not height, the width. So making 100, if I reduce by 10, yep, this is now looking way better. Remember that you will not get any email unless you provide the correct strings. So this is not an email.js tutorial, but I'm gonna give you a quick walkthrough. Just go to this website, and in case you do not have an account, just sign up for free. After that, just log in into your account. After logging in, just go to account, and in this part you will get your API keys, and you will have the first one, okay? And that's the one that you need to copy paste. So this is the string where you need to paste your public key into, okay? So do that, and then let's see where to get these 2. Now click email services, and you will not have anything yet, okay? You press this button, add a new service, and as you can tell, I'm using Gmail, okay? After you connect this, you will get your service ID. So you need to copy and paste your service ID as well. So just copy that, and I'm going to show you where to paste that into. As you can see, this is where you paste your service ID. And the last thing for us to get is the template string. Okay, this is going to be also unique and customizable. Similar to what you did before, you click email templates, and this is actually, as you can tell of course by the title, is the template for your email. You don't really have to create, I mean, you need to create a new template because this is going to be empty at the beginning, but you don't really need to customize it, okay? All you have to do is to basically create it and use the standard, and then you need to make sure that the variables inside that template, it's a match to your name inside your form. But we'll go over that. For now, just copy this template ID and you already know where to paste that. So this part is actually important. This is where you're going to send the email to. So the user uses the form to contact someone, and that form data will be sent to this email in this example. Of course that you can add the BCC or the CC. As an example, I'm adding the CC email, okay? But I haven't really customized this in terms of the content of the body of the text, but these are the variables that are really important, okay? And this one as well. So you need to make a perfect match from this name, this email, and this message. And I'm gonna show you exactly what I mean. So you see this variable from_name, I'm using it right here. And the same goes for from email. I'm using it right here. And the same goes for the message. Where is it? There you have it. Message. Okay? Of course you can customize this, but these variables, whatever variables you have it here, need to be a perfect match to this in this case. Okay? Message and all of that. Okay? So this is the important thing. Now really it's time for us to see if this actually works or not. As you can see, I have restarted the project, okay, and let's give it a try. At gmail.com and the JavaScript way test. Press enter and boom, looks like the message was successfully sent. And we can also check that inside our console log. Remember, inspect, and because the component it's a client component, we can access the console, and there you go. Okay, message sent, which is this message right here. So this means that I should have an email. There's like warnings, you can fix this, this is not so important, this relates to image, but I'm gonna check my inbox. There you have it. I got the message in a matter of seconds. So the message was sent from this person with this email, and this is the message that was sent. Of course you can definitely work on this email UI, and but yeah, this is not the point. The point is just to show you how easy it is to set up email.js in React.js, in JavaScript, in NextJS, whatever. So this is the goal. So it's working. Let's continue. Time to work on our last component, which is going to be the footer. So I'm just gonna change from div to footer using the HTML5 semantic tag, of course, and I'm gonna start styling this outer div. I want to give a padding 8 to all sides. The BG color is going to be our custom blue color, and inside we'll have a div which is going to be actually a grid. So a div, and this div, as I said, it's going to be a grid. So let's define grid. I want grid calls to be just one to start with. On MD breakpoint I want my grid calls to be 2, and on LG I want my grid calls to be 3, and I always want a gap of 6. Okay, so inside this div, this one I'm gonna have a padding Y of 5, width of full. The next one, the width, it's going to be full. I need to use flex for flex box, of course. Justify start, which means to the left. On MD I want to change that to justify to the center. Okay, and I want to put my items to the center. The last div, the width is going to be full, justify start, and on LG I want to justify to the center and items not to the center but to the end. Okay, inside we are going to have another div. I'm gonna style it. I want to use flexbox, of course, justify to the start, and a margin bottom of 8. Now inside of this div I will have two things, an image and a span. So let's start with an image, and I can actually copy paste this image, of course, so it's a bit faster. And right below it I'll have a span tag, and this span I can simply style it right away. The font is going to be extra bold. I want the text to be 2XL, but I want on XL, I want to make this text to be bigger, so text 3XL. Okay. I want to use uppercase, and I want the cursor to be pointer. Okay. And the text to be white. Text to be white. So text white. And I'm thinking that there's no point to have cursor pointer here unless I wrap this with a link, which I'm not going to do, so I'm going to remove that part. And so these two things, but below this div I also need to have a paragraph, and I'm going to copy paste this. Okay, this is just a paragraph, and we see nothing because I am not yet importing these components. So I'm going to go to my page, which is our root page, of course, and I'm going to import my footer, and below contact I'm going to use my footer, and let's see, let's refresh this, and there you have it. We start to see something. Okay, why don't I see training center? I should see it. There should be a typo. Text white. Oh, because I never wrote it in the first place, of course. Training center. Should see it here. There you have it. See? Cool. All good. Let's continue. Okay, inside this second div, this is where we are going to have our links. Okay, I'm just copy pasting them, and as you can tell, I'm not sending the user anywhere actually, but you can modify these to your own needs, of course. Coming along nicely. The last thing that we need to do is to add the copyright details right here. So let's do that right now. All we need is this p tag, and I'm gonna style it. So I want to use the font normal this time. Text, I want it to be smaller. This is not so important. The text color is going to be text slate 200, very light color. Okay, and the content is going to be simply copy right at 2023. So this is a static number, but now I want to use vanilla JS to generate the current year dynamically and automatically. For that, all I'm going to do is, let me just do the logic in here. What I'm going to do is to create a new date, basically new date. Okay, and then I'm gonna extract simply the full year. So get full year. You can get more data, of course, but this is all I need. And I'm gonna invoke this, and this should be fine. Add a dot, and then I'm gonna add all rights reserved. And this should be it. Let's see. Oh, there's a typo. Copyright. Okay, sorry for that typo. And there you have it. So now we have finished it, and we do have our footer, and the full project works. And thanks for watching. If you enjoy my content, just subscribe to more videos just like this one.